Your soul's already told you go. Your ego's like, but wait, what about this? What if this bad thing happens? What if we do this too prematurely? That is your fucking ego. Anytime there is a negotiation with what you know to be true, it is your ego. Shut that shit down.
This is Leah Steele. Welcome to the Wealth Witch podcast. Just a few years ago, I experienced complete financial collapse. We lost a business, our home, and a car. My husband was selling plasma to pay for diapers and formula. I was living a life I hated, and I was miserable. It was the lowest part of my life. It ended up being my biggest blessing. Just a few short years later, I've designed the life of my dreams. I live a life of luxury in beautiful Bali, Indonesia, travel the world, and spend my days helping others manifest wealth and abundance. Living a purpose-led life changed everything for me. This podcast is about my journey, my top tips and tools for manifestation, and interviews with all the amazing, world-changing, inspiring people I meet along the way. Welcome to my world. Hey, and welcome to another episode of the Wealth Witch podcast. I am your host, Leah Steele, the Wealth Witch, and I am so excited to share with you this special edition episode with some very, very special guests. In this two-part episode series, you will be listening in on one of my free Ouroboros masterclasses. It's a bit different than the rest of the episodes, but I'm so excited for you to truly get a glimpse of what it's like to work with me. Okay, now let's get on with part one of the podcast episode.
The thing I know about my events like this, and really anything I do, whether it's a paid VIP day where you're coming and paying me a couple $1,000s a day to spend the day with me, or it's one of my programs, or it's a free event like this, there's always that one aha moment. There's always that one aha moment that in the night or in the day, you go, oh, that's it. That's what I'm here for. And so, and while you may pick up many, many tidbits and things may drop in for you over the next week, over the next month, over the next year, there's going to be something that's your aha moment. And when you realize what that thing is, I would love for you to put that in the chat. When you're like, yep, that's it. That's what I came here for. That's the magic. I really want you to put that in the chat, because we want to celebrate that. We want to celebrate that you got what you came here for, that you got a return on your investment of your time and your energy. It's really, really important to me. And yes, I'm going to talk to you about Ouroboros, because that's what this is about, right? Like, this is about deconstructing financial slavery consciousness. And the best way I know how to do that is in my free program. So I'm going to talk, not in my free program, in my paid program, the full 4-month program, Ouroboros. So we're going to be talking about that throughout the evening. We're going to be talking about the things that we do in there. But for me, yes, I want to expose as many of you as possible to Ouroboros, but I also want every single one of you, whether you decide to sign up for Ouroboros or not, to walk away with epic value. And to me, you being here with me, I've already won. Because I have brought a whole bunch of new epic, amazing people into my community. And Ouroboros might not be right for you right now, but it might be right for you the next time we run it. Or you may decide to opt into a bundle, or you may start your wealth consciousness journey with me in another way. But to me, it's about surrounding myself and building my community with like-minded people that are really, really interested in stepping out of slavery consciousness and stepping into economic freedom and stepping into living the life that they deeply desire, stepping into lives that they are wildly, wildly crazy about, where they are abundant and wealthy in all areas of their lives. So I'll just start by saying something that I know that many of you that have been following me for a long time, you're like, okay, Leah, yeah, we know. But for those of you that are new, my purpose on this planet is to really instill in you that it is your divine birthright to be wealthy in all areas of your life. And the word wealthy actually comes from 2 words, well and healthy. So it is your divine birthright to be well and healthy in all areas of your life. And you are so worthy and you are so deserving of that. And so that is literally going to be the entire message of tonight, is that you are worthy and that you are deserving. And you are deserving of having your heaven on earth experience. And you are deserving of creating a life that you are so crazy about that every morning you wake up and you are filled with gratitude about this life that you're living. And so for me, like, that is a blessing that I have. And I want more people to have that blessing. I want more people to recognize and realize economic freedom. I want more people to have choice about the life that they're living. And so that's why we're here. Yeah. I don't know that there's a difference between a masterclass and a webinar, but I feel like webinars have to be super salesy, and I've got to do this like hard sell. And my launch strategist was like, well, how are you going to close them? And I was like, I don't do that. Like, I don't do it. I don't do a hard sell. I don't do a hard close. Like, it's not me. I'm really not interested in it. For me, it's like, I know that if I show up here and I talk to you about my purpose and my passion, and I give you epic value, if your soul is a fuck yes, you're going to sign up for this program. And if it's not, that's okay. Like, it's really not a big deal. Like, because I don't actually have an agenda. And it's one of the things that's been so freeing for me in my life, is to recognize and realize that I am here and I have a purpose on this planet. And I don't actually need any validation about that purpose. I get to just show up and deliver this content to you without agenda about whether or not you sign up for this program. And I know that the exact right people that need this work, that are ready to make this shift, that are ready to make this change, are going to pull the trigger, right? And so it lets me off the hook. And so don't expect a hard sell, because I don't do that. And I'd rather just give you epic content and have an open dialogue and a conversation. And this is going to be interactive. I am a projector in human design. I do not like simply talking to a screen. I love interaction, which is why I'm constantly going to be having you type stuff in the chat and let me know that you're listening, and let me know that you're active, so I can feel your energy, because that's really what gets me fired up. So, what a time on the planet to be doing this masterclass. What a time on the planet to be having this conversation. So, I will say right off the bat that I actually don't believe in politics. And it's because I know that the global financial agenda and the global financial elite, they don't have a political party. And they actually don't really care what country you're from. They don't really care what political party you are from. They don't really care what race, creed, or color you're from. What they care about is that you show up every day and you perform as the compliant commodity that they have programmed and conditioned you to be. That's what they care about. They care about building the global economy on the backs of bodies, and those bodies are your bodies. So here's the thing. We're not going to get political. We are going to talk a little bit about the election, because I think it's really pertinent and I think it's really timely, because we are at a crossroads in humanity. And I know that many, many spiritual leaders right now feel like we are literally waged in a battle for the soul of humanity. But what an amazing time to actually decide that we no longer want to be commodities, that we no longer want the global economy built on our backs, that we actually want financial and economic freedom, that we want choice, that we want to be... Can you guys hear the tokay? So, by the way, tokays, which is basically a gecko, it's the name for gecko in Indonesian. Tokays are really good financial luck. So I love actually that we had Mr. Tokay here, which I've never heard one in this room, by the way. Okay, so I lost my train of thought because we had the magical Mr. Tokay come in and he was co-signing what I was saying. So, what a time to decide. What a time to decide that we're no longer available for this bullshit, right? That we want choice. That we want to actually claim our divine birthright. That we're no longer willing to be slaves anymore, to serve an elite group of people that do not have our highest and best interest at heart, right? So, to me, what I see happening is a lot of programming and a lot of conditioning. And I see it happening on a global scale. but it is alive and well and kicking and in the face of every single American right at the moment. And as Americans, we are being controlled and we are being manipulated, and that programming, that lifelong programming, the programming that we receive from the time we take our first breath on this planet, that programming is being triggered right now. It is being activated. And it is being activated with an intention to get us back into control, to get us back into operating like the compliant commodities that we are. And perhaps to get us back to operating like the compliant commodities that we haven't been since post the Great Depression. And when we lived in another fear pandemic, when we were controlled by lack of resources, where we were controlled by lack of currency and lack of money and lack of ability to provide for our families. And because of that, we were easily controlled and manipulated. Well, the same thing's happening right now. It's happening all across the globe. We're being controlled by fear propaganda. We are being controlled by division. We are being controlled by any means necessary. And the entire agenda is to get us back into line and to get us back into the place where we are simply showing up every single day and serving that greater good, greater good of the financial elite that is the global financial agenda. So, what a time. What a time to be having this discussion. What a time to be having this conversation. What a time to be deciding that we're no longer available for this. And to be looking at what it actually takes to deconstruct the programming so that we can step out of that position of control, and we can step into a position of sovereignty, and we can step into a position of choice, and we can step into a position of getting to decide what is actually in our highest and best good instead of having it decided for us. So who's here for all of that? Give me a hell yes or a fuck yes. Henny says she's here to do the work for her and for all. Yeah, so ready, hell yes, sovereignty and choice for sure. Yeah, I'm here for it, fuck yes. So for those of you that are new to me, I'm irreverent. I actually give no fucks what you think about me. I'm gonna say what I'm gonna say, and then I'm gonna be like, I said what I said. And you're going to get me real, raw, and uncensored tonight. You're going to have one of my besties here who is also going to bring it to you real, raw, and uncensored. And my other special guest, maybe I should keep it a secret. Okay, I'm going to keep it a secret then. I won't tell you. I won't tell you who it is. So here's a question. Coming to this webinar tonight, what were you hoping to get from me? If you could say, Leah, I want to walk away tonight with this from you, what would the thing be? Inspiration, all the magic, clarity, amazing. Dismantle my structures of self-sabotage. I like that. Transmission and be in your energy, clarity. A couple of people said clarity. Deconstruction of current beliefs, energy, more of what you did this morning. That's somebody that's in my Ouroboros experience for sure. I want to know about more programming that I can nuke. Clearing more shit conditioning that's in my way to true wealth and abundance. Yes, I want to feel unlocked in flow, release the blocks. Clearing and activation, transmission, inspired and courageous to step the magic up and shed the limits. Transmission and clearings, connecting to my power. Rocket up my ass, or arse, she says, because she's English. About anchoring in my new level wealth, not just chancing it. I love that. Motivation, walk away feeling inspired, understanding my programs, more confidence and clarity, transmission, centrum. I want to walk away with a mindset and energetic shift around my money, which will change my reality and allow me to effortlessly close spiral sales calls today. That's very specific, and I love that. Leslie says, I've invested in your high-end programs and I'm still here because every time I listen to you riff, I walk away with one more golden nugget of wisdom around self-mastery and wealth. It's like the fucking best testimonial ever, right? Clarity and unprogramming. I want to know where I'm holding back. Lots of clarity here, you guys, which I really love. I love that a lot of people are saying clarity. My husband has joined me watching this. He's already on the Leah train. Give Kit a shout out if you can. Hey, Kit. I love it when the husbands join me. I feel like I have to tell you now, though. So my special guest tonight is my husband, who is going to come join me. It is sure to be epic and amazing, and we're so different, and he's going to tell you like it is as well. Probably give you some insights into what it's like to be on the Leah train, but kind of sort of driving it together. We're definitely driving different parts of the train. Maybe we're driving two trains together and then they're side by side. I'm not sure. We'll maybe have to ask him that question when he gets here. So I love that so many people said clarity, because I feel like this is so important. And a lot of people miss this. A lot of people miss that we actually cannot take inspired action until we have clarity, right? So I'm going to tell you a secret of my success. And that secret is that I take absolutely no action at all until I know the exact right next inspired action to take. I do not act. I do not act. It doesn't matter how many people are pushing me. It doesn't matter what my deadline is. It doesn't matter what's going on. If I do not know the exact next right inspired action to take, I do not act. And it was interesting today because I hired a decorator to do the house because we've got a lot going on. And I love decorating, actually. It's one of my geniuses. But I really wanted to make the house special for the kids this year. And I'm also doing a 12 days of Christmas sale. And so I wanted to get it done really early so that I could do a photo shoot for the 12 days of Christmas, because I have lots of amazing and epic things that I want to share with you guys. And so I hired this decorator that I hired last year. And she came over a couple of days ago, and then she sent me a bid, which I thought was quite crazy, but she sent me a bid. And then today I got this kind of shitty message from her that was like, basically like, I need you to respond and send me a deposit because blah, 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 blah. And I was like, okay, well, first of all, I worked from 7 a.m. yesterday until 11 p.m. I went to bed I got in my bed after working at 11 p.m. Like, I'm in the middle of this launch and I had a call in the Ouroboros experience. Then I had to be up at 6 o'clock this morning, and I've been going since 6 o'clock this morning. And I just sent her a message and I was like, look, like, this doesn't work for me, because I'm not going to act. I'm not going to act from a place of being pressured to. I'm not going to act from a place of being pushed. Like, I'm not acting until I know the exact right next inspired action to take. And then she sent me some janky pictures of stockings and a Christmas bag that she was planning on making for me. And I was like, oh, no, that will never work. So I was like, but I had to let her know. And I literally messaged her and said, listen, you need to know me and you need to understand me. You need to understand that I don't respond well to ultimatums. I don't respond well to being pushed. And I'm not acting even in the universe, my Christmas decorations are not that big of a deal, right? But it is a big deal to me because it's a big deal to set an amazing scene and have a great holiday with my family. So I was like, listen, you just need to know me. And you need to know that, like, I don't actually take any action at all until that action's inspired. And you're not inspiring me right now. This is clarity, guys. Like, this is clarity. When you get to the place where you are so committed to not taking any action at all until you know the exact next right action to take, it doesn't matter how big or how small that thing is, you're not going to act. You're literally not going to act. And you won't be pressured into it, and you won't be ultimatumed into it. And it doesn't matter how limited the Christmas decoration supply is in Jakarta, because there are no planes and cargo ships coming into Bali because of coronavirus. I give no fucks about that, right? Like, I'm just not going to be pushed. That is certainty. That is certainty. And it is one of my keys to success. It is one of my absolute keys to success, that I take no action at all until I know the next exact right inspired action to take. And if I don't know what it is, I will sit. And yes, it pisses some people off in my life, especially my team. I don't know if any of my team is actually on here. How do I have this enormous team of people and none of them are on this call? But it does frustrate them sometimes. But in the same sense, they know that the magic that is the Leah Steele brand, the magic that we do on the day-to-day, it's because of this. It's because I won't be pushed. It's because I won't be moved. Until I receive that divine guidance, I'm not moving. I'm not moving. The divine guidance has to come through, and I have to know the exact right next inspired action to take, and then I will move, and then I will act. And I will not move or I will not act a second earlier. That is a key to success. That is certainty. And the more that you practice this and the more that you put this into play, the more certain you will become. For me, this is what brings clarity. It is trusting myself to not act. It is trusting that I have cultivated and created a strong enough connection between me and my divine immortal soul and source, God, source, universe, all that is, whatever you call it. I'm probably going to say God or source or universe or all that is throughout the night. But listen, whatever you call it, just replace it. For me, there is a big part of my day every single day that goes towards consciously cultivating that connection with my divine immortal soul and source. And through that connection, I have received certainty that I will always receive divine guidance. And that divine guidance is what brings the clarity. And I do not move until I have the clarity. If you took nothing else away, I'm going to say this like 20 times, by the way. I always say like 20 times on these things. If you took nothing else away from this webinar except this, your life would be forever changed. So, but literally, if you took nothing else away from this webinar except this, that you do not have to act until you are certain. You do not have to act until you have clarity. You do not have to act until that divine guidance comes and you know the exact next right inspired action to take. It would shift your life, your financial world drastically if you just only onboarded this. So here's a great question from Jade Oliver. If I'm still creating that divine connection to my source, so clarity is definitely not there yet, do I just keep building connection and hold on for inspired action? Okay, so if you feel that you do not have an amazing connection to your divine immortal soul and to source, then your number one job is to build that connection. Your number one job is to cultivate that connection and to create personal practices around cultivating that connection. That's your job. That's your number one job. And so as you commit to that, and as you make those commitments to yourself, and as you commit to that discipline and that dedication to those personal practices, the clarity will come. It will come, and the divine guidance will come, and then you'll know. And yes, I would say, I mean, obviously you can't sit around doing nothing. So, ask your soul, is this the right thing for me to do? And trust whatever the answer is. But if you're still struggling with that connection, then yes, like that is your number one, that's your number one job, is to get clear on that. What are my practices that I use to connect with the divine? So the first thing is as soon as I open my eyes in the morning, the first question I ask is, how would you have me serve today? And it literally is that connection into my divine immortal soul, into God, saying, how would you have me serve today? And whatever that answer is, regardless of what my schedule says, I do that thing. So that's the first thing. And it's a daily conversation. I swear I need a reality television show, because I think people would laugh their asses off if a camera followed me around all day and heard me talking to myself and to God and to my divine immortal soul and to source and to my ancestors. But it is for me a constant dialogue throughout the day. Where am I out of alignment? Where am I not doing what I'm meant to be doing? Where am I getting caught up in bullshit? Where am I accepting my own bullshit excuses in this moment? Why is it that I'm running into blocks in whatever area this is? Why is someone saying no to me? I'm not willing to accept that. How do I need to shift my attitude, energy, internal landscape so that this no that I'm being told externally turns out to be a yes? Like, that is my every moment of everyday practice. I also meditate. I also run my Healy religiously. I also journal. I'm a dedicated journaler. And I wasn't always a journaler, by the way. I was not that girl that kept diaries my whole adolescence. Like, it wasn't my thing. But a mentor challenged me to do a 90-day journaling challenge, and I did it, and my life was drastically different at the end. So I am a dedicated journaler now. It's a non-negotiable for me. I meditate. I do Joe Dispenza meditations. I do conscious quantum realm visitations. That is quite a mouthful. I do conscious parallel realm or quantum realm visitations. And I move my body, and I practice 5-element theory. I'm really, really into self mastery. I am into seeing how I can extend my life expectancy. I am into immortality. I am into deep, deep study of my constitutional factor within 5-element theory, which includes how I move my body, what food I eat, what beverages I put in my mouth. So those are all the things that I do to cultivate my connection to source. And at night, every night before I go to bed, so I start my day with how would you have me serve? And I end my day with asking myself, where did I fall out of alignment with my highest and best good today? And I do that from a place of non-judgment. It's just really like, where did I fall out of alignment? It's an acknowledgement, it's an observation, and then I make a commitment to do better the next day. I make a commitment to right whatever that thing was where I fell out of alignment in the next day. How about those who overthink and mindfuck and never feel completely clear? Well, here's the thing that I'm going to tell you, because I am one of those people. I am a type A personality. I am an overthinker. I am an overanalyzer. I am a Sagittarius with a Virgo rising. I am all the things. I have all of the abilities to get really caught up in the overanalyzation, in the perfection, in wanting it to be exactly right. What I will tell you is, when you truly make that divine connection and when you truly cultivate that divine connection, you can't. Because the truth is that when your divine immortal soul talks to you and speaks to you, you just know that that is what is, and there is no negotiation. If you're negotiating, it's your brain and it's your ego, right? So when you are committed to that connection to your divine immortal soul, which is why it's so amazing for people like you and I, we get to actually set that aside, because now we're committed to following the divine guidance. And the divine guidance isn't a negotiation. The negotiation is our ego. And so when we're committed and when we make that commitment and when we commit to following through with that, then we don't have to be in that constant negotiation anymore. Do you ask a question to the divine before you surrender and wait? No, because I made a commitment a long time ago to be the divine's bitch. Like, I say that all the time, and I'm like, I'm just the divine's bitch. I literally surrendered my free will to the divine. And I am a very willful and stubborn person. I need to take a drink of water. I am a very willful and stubborn person. But my willfulness and my stubbornness, it wasn't getting me any closer to living the life that I deeply desired. And so as a result of that, well, God literally said to me one day, how's that working out for you? And I was like, well, it's not. And so I decided to just surrender. In that moment, I decided to surrender. And so I don't actually have to ask a question, because I know that in each moment of every day, I'm divinely guided. I just have to still my ego enough and quiet the mind enough to actually hear the divine guidance. And I think I answered this question, how do I know that I'm connected to the divine? Because the guidance that comes through is a knowing. It's a full knowingness, and there is no negotiation. How do I know when I've received the nudge to take inspired action? I just know. Again, I just know. That is what that connection is. It is a knowing. It is a knowing in my soul. And it's like, yep, now's the time to act. I am also a splenic authority in human design, by the way, guys. So this helps me a lot, because I have cultivated that knowing and that knowledge of what my splenic hit is. And so I know when it's a yes, because it's like my spleen like runs me over like a Mack truck. now that I've learned to recognize it. And so, I mean, I think that that's the other side of it. And it is about cultivating that conscious connection. It is about discipline, rigorous discipline in your personal practices to cultivate that connection, because that waiting too long is a negotiation. That's your ego. Your soul's already told you yes. Your soul's already told you go. Your ego's like, but wait, what about this? What if this bad thing happens? What if we do this too prematurely? That is your fucking ego. Anytime there is a negotiation with what you know to be true, it is your ego. Shut that shit down. Trisha says, being in the container doing the work has suddenly connected me back to self, and it's powerful. It's work, but so worth it. Listen, I'm going to tell you right now. Don't come here. You might as well leave this now if you're not ready to work, because you don't even want to be in my community if you're not ready to work. This is hard work. It's hard work. It's difficult. It's uncomfortable. It's not easy. If it was easy, everyone would be doing it, and they're not. Trust me, they're not. Because if it was easy, all these spiritual people out in the world would be billionaires, and they're not. They're broke as fuck. So just saying, it does require that we show up. It requires that we work hard. It requires that we commit. It requires that we be willing to look in the places that most people aren't willing to look. Deconstructing programming around money, wealth, abundance, prosperity, worthiness, deserving. It's not easy. It's uncomfortable as fuck. It's hard. It's hard to look at the things that we don't want to look at. It is so much easier to stay in a state of compliance. It is so much easier to stay in comfortable misery than to stretch ourselves into comfortable paradise or comfortable bliss. You just summarized the life of being a channel perfectly. So this is a great question. What specific Healy programs do I use around money, purpose, and divine connection? So I love being. I run being all the time. I ran it tonight, actually, before getting on this call. So Gold Cycle Being is an incredible program to run. And I'm actually getting ready to develop my own frequencies around wealth and abundance. But I love release if you've got perceived money blocks. If you've got stuff that you feel like is keeping you stagnant or keeping you stuck, I love setting the intention to clear that stuff and using release. It's an incredible program. There's lots of others that I use. Healy's a beautiful tool because you can use it very intentionally to connect. It's our bridge. It's the bridge between this 3D reality that we're living in and the quantum field. And so you can literally use it with intention to move to that place and to clear whatever it is that you want, to release whatever it is that you want, to balance whatever it is in your bioenergetic field that needs balancing, including programming, conditioning, money shit, all of that. So the Leah transmission will get you journaling 2 years in. I've lost count, 20 something plus journals. Yeah. I always say when you start to work with me, it's a 5 journal minimum. So journaling tips. Oh my goodness. Well, I think it's too much to get into on this because we are going to be talking about many, many other things. I do have a 7-module journaling course. And here's a little preview of what's coming during the 12 Days of Christmas sale. I do have so I did a journaling course called the Boss Witch Journaling Course. We did a class originally called If You're Not Journaling Like a Boss Witch, You're Probably a Broke Bitch, which sold out. And then we ended up doing a 5-module course on the heels of that. We did 2 more modules, and then we ended up adding 4 more modules. And it's called the Boss Witch Journaling Course. It's really incredible. I show you pages out of my personal journal. And it's journaling prompts and modules on anything from calling in the cold hard cash to calling in soul aligned clients. So I got that journaling course. It's on my website at www.theleahsteele.com. So you can definitely go check that out if you're interested in more info on journaling. But I do have a journaling for business course coming out that will be launched during the 12 Days of Christmas. What is 5-element theory? So 5-element theory is a 4,000 plus year old philosophy around constitutional factor and the idea that the elements are in everything, including us. I have an incredible group called the Element Factor. If you're not a member of that, you definitely want to join that on Facebook. We do an introduction to the 5 elements. It's completely free. It's about 6 hours of content in there. So you should definitely go check that out if you're interested in learning more about 5 element theory. Okay. My first special guest has arrived, however.
Hey, I hope you're enjoying this episode of the Wealth Witch podcast. I wanted to take a quick break to talk to you about an amazing offer I have to work with me like my high-end clients do for a fraction of the investment. If there's anything that the last several months of chaos and change has showed us, it's that our perceptions of what is safe, stable, and secure is anything but. You are your guarantee. You are the key to unlocking and calling in the wealth that you desire. If you don't already know, I'm all about belief and intention, and for me, deciding is the most important action you can take. So I don't need to convince you. You'll either resonate with this or not. The only prerequisite that you need to have is a desire to change your current financial reality. This mastermind I'm about to tell you about is about empowering you to take back control of your financial destiny and take action towards creating the life that you deeply desire. The Wealth Alchemy Mastermind is hosted via the Telegram app, and I've set it up in a way that it's accessible. This is an incredible opportunity to work with me in this mastermind at a special pre-launch rate of $44 a month. Yes, you heard that right. Just $44 a month to work with me at the same level that some of my high-end clients do. So what do you get? Weekly exclusive content and training, a monthly Zoom coaching call, a monthly Q&A session, wealth paradigm downloads, wealth activations, and a mastermind chat full of like-minded community. You aren't doing this mastermind for the content. You're doing it for the transmissions, period. You will be activated with abundance just by being in this container. But you have to act fast. The pre-launch offer is only available for a limited time, so click the link in the description of the podcast and sign up now. I'd love for you to join me, so do the thing. Now back to the podcast.
Okay, so without further ado, we will introduce my first special guest. Get your husbands ready. So this is my husband, Sean Barnett. I asked him, after I already promoted that I was having a special guest, I asked him to come on this webinar with me tonight to talk a little bit about how we created this life, because I think that's a big part of it's a big part of the journey. And I know that there are so many people out there that are struggling, thinking, how could I possibly ever do this? How could I possibly ever live this life? How can I get to this place? And we weren't always here. And we weren't always here even that long ago. So, and it was definitely a combination of the two of us working together. And so, and I think maybe we'll tell a little bit about our story and where we came from, because I think that's important to know. But I think maybe what I'd like to focus more on tonight is sort of how we stay here.
Yeah.
Like how we stay in this place, because it's one thing to get here.
Yeah.
But it's an entirely different thing to stay here. And I will just say that we're very different. And there is I think it takes a lot to be able to deal with my constant striving towards the next goal and the next thing and the next milestone. So, but we are both very much entrepreneurs at heart. And so I know Sean understands that, but I think that sometimes he's probably like, when is enough going to be enough?
I don't know if I even think that. I don't necessarily think that. I don't think when's enough going to be enough. We just have different temperaments and different ways that we go about everything. And all the way back to when we did like the wealth dynamics testing and that and human design and really understanding who
we are both projectors, by the way. I know that's going to be a question. So we're both projectors. Mm-hmm. He's a 2-4 projector. So he is a hermit opportunist, and I am a 5-1, so I'm a heretic investigator. So our profile types are very, very different, though our projector design we share and is the same. So I know that question is going to come up, so I'll just answer that right off the bat.
And it is so, that hermit opportunist, the thing that I just can't seem to do is like promote myself, is like, but if someone invites me to do something, I thrive. And in, our relationship, there's this part of being like an American man where it's like the man's supposed to lead the charge and the man's supposed to, be out front and the star of the show or whatever. At least this is some sort of programming I got in my upbringing. And meanwhile, the one who's really good at it is this one, and the thing that I'm really good at is just supportive or picking up the pieces, or when I'm invited to something, I can shine, but I don't promote myself. It's not in my nature, and I'm miserable when I try to do it. And so we're lucky that way or maybe we're not lucky. Maybe both of us are so committed to our dreams that we attracted each other. That's really more of what I think, is that we both operate on the type of frequency where us being together is inevitable, but we're not the same, and we don't have the same talents, and we don't have the same things don't make us tick, and the same things don't make us full of life. And yet together we make this life that is, it's been so cool. You kind of learned when we went to Mexico, or started traveling together, that you had this side of you that you didn't, you always knew it, but you didn't quite know it, I don't know, at the level you know it now, right? Do you know what I'm talking about?
We haven't said what side of me.
The adventurous traveling, that
well, I think I always
thing.
like to travel, but I'm definitely a homebody, and I still am a homebody. Mm-hmm. I like the safety and stability and security of the home. And so, while I think you're much more free and can kind of make your home anywhere. But you're actually way more, he's way more attached to things. Yeah. No, but you're way more attached.
Absolutely.
When we move, I'm like, deuces, I'm out of here. Like, no looking back. And he's just like, oh, I love this place.
I've had so many great memories at this place. Every place I've ever lived, when I leave, I'm like, oh, I love this place. I'm going to miss it. I get super sentimental about things. But
so, I'm at this place right now where I'm so over the underdog story. But I think it is important to just say that, we weren't always in this place. Yeah. We didn't always have this money. We didn't always have this life. We didn't always have this freedom. We didn't always have these choices. Yeah. And in fact, 5 years ago, we were living like slaves. Yeah. And were, caught up in the American dream, the American program.
The gala life
of the kids in private schools, and I was PTA president of the Catholic school, and I was on the board of the baseball league, and Sean was coaching baseball, and we had, from the outside, our life seemed perfect, and on the inside it was crumbling. We were miserable. We were on the verge of getting a divorce. Yeah. Our relationship with our kids was shit. Yeah. Our relationship with each other was horrible. Yeah. And we were just miserable. And I think fake. we were doing what we had to do to get by. And, I think I started my spiritual reawakening. Sean had always been much more spiritual than I was. I definitely have always been about that entrepreneurial spirit and making money, and, that very capitalistic, I've always had that very capitalistic streak in me. I think that some people call it materialism, like whatever it is. I've always been fascinated with money, and I've always wanted to make money. I've always wanted money. And I think Sean, from your early 20s has been exploring spirituality and has been a very spiritual person. So,
but I always liked money too. And I always was building businesses too, and promoting, and, I can always promote somebody else. I was a really successful concert promoter and worked with all these bands, and, was partners on bars and started a bunch of businesses. And, but the one thing I just don't do is promote myself, So
I think in that though, like I started having my spiritual reawakening. And in that spiritual reawakening, I think I finally realized just how miserable I was. And that I wasn't doing my purpose work and I wasn't doing the work that I came here to do. And at the time we owned addiction treatment programs and they were actually quite successful.
Yeah.
But in the matter of a couple of years of me having the spiritual reawakening and all this misery that we were living in, those businesses tanked. We ended up losing $3 million, ended up $1 million in debt, lost our house, lost a car. Sean was at one point selling plasma to pay for diapers and formula. We lost everything. Yeah. And it was in that losing everything that we found our biggest blessings.
Oh, by far.
And that we made a decision to sell everything we owned and pack up our family. Two of our boys, one of our boys stayed back in Utah because he was a skier and he had a first-time girlfriend. He's older.
First love. He's 22.
But we made the decision to pack up our two younger children who were 12 and 3 at the time and move to Bali, Indonesia, where we had never been. So we moved all the way across the world, sight unseen, to Bali, and it was literally, I think, in the moving, it was make or break.
Yeah.
We were both kind of like, all right, we're gonna do this.
We said a year. Yeah, we were like, we'll give it a year. And Leah knows this. It was like, if things don't turn around for us within a year, we've got to explore divorce or, I don't know. It was crazy that the thought would even, like now, it's almost like crazy that thought would even cross my mind, but I know the type of pain we were in. We had come from this land of shoulds. And in my, like Leah said, I had really explored spirituality, but I don't know I had really let it go and turned it over to whatever you want to call that, God, the source of my life or whatever. And when I really turned it over, that's when everything went to shit. And looking back on it, that's exactly what had to happen to rearrange our life. Like the pixels of reality had to shift so dramatically that there was no way to get to this life without the old life literally going into that cocoon and become like the caterpillar that becomes liquefied and then is reformed as a butterfly. The caterpillar doesn't just like change over to the butterfly slowly. It becomes a liquid, becomes something completely amorphous, and then, comes back as this butterfly. And that was our life for sure.
I like your fish shirt.
Oh, thank you. Nice.
So that's kind of where we came from. And coming to Bali was my business. So I started my coaching when the addiction treatment business fell apart. I was already doing my purpose work.
Yeah.
I was moonlighting, doing my purpose work, and I was obsessed with it. I loved it. I loved what I was doing. I was so filled up. It was probably the only thing in my life at that point that I felt like I was doing well. And so we gave ourselves a year to move to Bali. We decided we were moving to Bali. We gave ourselves a year to move to Bali. And my business was actually doing quite well by the time we moved to Bali. I mean, in the realm of the online space, I was having ridiculous success. But here's the thing. There was no plan B.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm going all in on this. And I'm sure you were like, if you're going all in on this, it better work.
Well, I'd said that to you. I don't you remember me saying that? I was like, if we're going to do all this, then got to make it happen.
So
it was hard for me because again, that sort of masculine stereotype thing, to be the guy who was taking care of finding the villas or taking care of the kids or figuring out how to get them into school or, handling all the minutia and stuff that it takes to take that off of Leah's plate so she could focus on her vision and her dream. There was definitely a part of me that I had to learn how to look at where I felt shameful and acknowledge it, make friends with it, and find where I added value in the family business, and now I'm in all kinds of sweet spots and I, add value all over the place. It's great.
Yeah. I mean, I think that there was definitely this phase of being like, there's no plan B. Like, I definitely had a commitment. I wasn't, I just come out of a major failure in a business. I was not willing to fail again. There was no other option but success. And I'm not afraid to work hard. And have never been, probably will never be. I can't imagine retirement. I love what I do. I'm very, very passionate about what I do. And so failure wasn't an option. And I just dove in and we did the thing. And so by the time we got here to Bali, the business actually was doing quite well.
Nothing like now, but
yeah, nothing like now. But it really was, I think, coming to Bali and being here in Bali and having more choice in life. And obviously also living way below what it costs to live in the United States and living an amazing high vibrational life on the island of the gods, where everything here is this incredible vibration.
When we first moved here, we discovered that the same dollar we were earning was going maybe 6 times as far here as it was in the United States. So that was huge, as far as, keeping that high vibe. But also there's something that happens when, there's something that happened when, I can't speak for Leah, but I know it's the same thing, but I'll just speak for myself. When I am honoring the actual deepest desire that's coming from who I am, from my soul source, whatever that is, when I'm honoring that, good things happen. That doesn't mean that good things happen easily, but good things happen. There's still challenges, and I don't complain. I don't bitch at the bench press, but I know that if I push through the challenge of a bench press, I'm going to look better in a swimsuit, right? And it's the same thing, when we're going after our real dreams, the real desire of the soul. And for me, I had been, since I was 9 years old, had visions of me surfing somewhere. And here I am. I was starting at 49 years old, starting this dream of being a surfer. But honoring that, then no matter what the challenges and growth opportunities that we meet along the way or go through, the benefits or the results on the other side are just mind-blowing. They're always 100 times better than anything I could have imagined when I imagined it the first time. And I think it's that combination of being willing to push through the difficult stuff, but also be going after true will,
Yeah. So that's sort of how we got here. And what I would actually love to talk about, because I think that, I obviously am an emotional clearing practitioner and have developed an emotional clearing modality. And I have a big belief in deconstructing financial conditioning and programming through emotional clearing and conditioning, and really tapping into the elemental parts of the body and the organs and the meridian systems. And so that's how I do my work. And that's a lot of the work that we do in Ouroboros. But I think that, Sean has a lot of insights as well on deconstructing programming. And so I'd be really interested to hear from you. I've actually never asked this question before, but I'd be really interested to hear from you when it comes to money and your beliefs around money, because we have very different beliefs and philosophies around money. But I'm interested to hear from you. How did you deconstruct the programming around money? Like, how did you deconstruct the limiting beliefs around money? And I think, we still are on this journey together where I'm all about the magic and he's all about the math. And we're constantly sort of like, if you haven't listened to our episode of my podcast, like definitely go do that. We won't go into it tonight on this call because time is limited, even though this is 3 hours long, we're already well into it. But we did an episode of my podcast called Magic in Math Out, where we talk a little bit more about how we do money and how we do our budgeting. For sure.
I just deconstruct my money issues and all of that stuff. The best I can explain it for me, and again, different than Leah. I trust the vision completely. And when I trust the vision, I don't worry about the details. So the money, and it's not that it just happens. Leah works her ass off. I work not as hard as Leah. I don't work as hard as Leah. I'm not built to work as hard at the same endurance level as Leah. I'm more of, I can blast it out. And I certainly, I worked on crab boats for 3 years. I worked 20 hours a day for 20 days at a time out at sea in crazy, huge waves for 3 years. And so I know how to do that, but it's not like I'm happy doing that, whereas Leah actually is quite happy doing your purpose. I mean, you get tired sometimes and stuff, but you're happy doing it. It's what you want to be doing. So I think that's how I deconstructed my beliefs around money. I mean, I think that I used to, I had this like traumatic experience where my second girlfriend told me I'd be the perfect guy if I had a lot of money. And that's what sent me off to Alaska to prove her wrong. I went to go make money out of spite. I was like, I'm going to go up there and come back with tens of thousands of dollars and spend it on somebody else, not her. And so somewhere in there, I switched over. But when we lost everything, and I had been having these visions of surfing somewhere in the South Pacific, I thought, and it ended up being the Indian Ocean. And then out of nowhere, my wife is like, hey, at first she said Costa Rica. Would you move out of the country and go back to Costa Rica? I had spent some time there. And I knew right then that whatever this thing that I'm doing, where I'm holding to this vision and trusting it and being completely committed to it, that it was working. And since then, just one thing after another, I'm learning to navigate it more and more. The more the more I practice at anything, the better I get at it, right? So I think, I don't know if that answers your question, but really that's the thing, is I don't actually focus in any way on money. I don't. I know you do. And I focus on the mathematics of the budget, and in the way that I see things and the way that magic seems to work with us around money is that the real key to making money is to always spend less than you make. And so we keep making more, but I'm always, no matter what, doesn't matter what level we get.
I keep making more because I keep wanting to spend
She
more.
wants to spend more, and that's great. But until you make more, you can't spend more, because if you break that law, we've seen it happen in our own life. When you break that law, it's like the universe doesn't trust you with money anymore. And that.
So this is what I talk about, being a good custodian of money.
Yeah.
Being a
There's
good custodian
some sort,
of your
and
money.
maybe it's not the universe. Maybe it's our own subconscious minds go, I can't trust you with money anymore, so I'm going to limit it, because you're not following the rules that make wealth happen, which is no matter how much you make, you got to spend less than you make. And Leah, as she's built her business, she always wants more. And there's nothing wrong with that. But there's an order to it. There's a priority, do the work, get the money. Then, if you want this thing that costs this much, then you need to make this much so that you're still spending less than what you make. I mean, it has to follow these certain principles. So where my mind works well around that, and I understand that mathematically, I personally don't go, well, I need to make, $50,000 this month. My brain doesn't work that way. My magic is I hold the vision. I hold the vision that comes from, the best I could explain it is the source of my life. Wherever the wellspring of my life is springing out of, there's a vision. And it includes Leah, and it includes this beautiful life, and our friends, and our family, and our happy kids. And, I see these smiles on our kids' faces, and I know that's part of this vision. And it includes me catching these huge waves and getting in barrels and surfing and having this life and having this freedom. And I just stick to the vision. And I trust that what gets put in front of me, even if it doesn't make sense, even if it's uncomfortable, whatever, that whatever gets put in front of me that is here, right now, right in front of me, if I do that with my best attitude and effort, good things work out. So I don't really have, I didn't just deconstruct beliefs around money. I blew them up to hell. I don't have any beliefs around money. I'm a, you know, I constantly just have no beliefs.
You did Ouroboros though.
Oh, I did, for sure. And and it's that helped. I mean, it's possible that obviously I'm the result of all of the rituals and all of the exercises I've done and all of the practices. And so it's possible that in Ouroboros, I brainwashed or erased all my old beliefs and just don't remember them anymore. Because literally, like right now in my life, and when you're asking me this question, it's like, I don't think I really have I don't really have negative or positive charges or anything.
In a position of neutrality.
Yeah,
what did we talk about today in the Ouroboros experience?
Yeah.
Being in a position of neutrality. Okay,
Yeah.
so I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Because this is something that comes up all the time. And I know that we actually have a couple of husbands that are watching with their wives.
Yeah.
So I get this question a lot, which is, I know that I need to do this thing.
Mm-hmm.
I know that I need to do this thing. I know it in my soul, and my partner's not on board. My partner thinks it's crazy. My partner thinks it's woo. My partner thinks it's whatever. And what do I do? Like, I know I need to do this. This happens a lot with Ouroboros. So women will be like, I know I need to do this program.
Yeah.
I know it's in my highest and best interest. My soul is a fuck yes to this program.
Yeah.
But my partner is like, are you crazy? This is
Yeah.
too much money. Like,
Yeah.
what are you talking about?
Yeah.
Who is this crazy bitch that just swears on
Yeah.
the internet all day?
Yeah.
Like, you can't
I know exactly
possibly-
what you're talking about. I went through it. I went through that.
Yeah,
I
right.
went through that very thing where I had to go, my wife is, and she was hiring, Katrina Ruth and, spending all these money on coaches and all this stuff when she was, I'm right on this precipice and I know I can go take it to the next level.
we can take it all the way back to when I invested in my first money course.
Yeah.
I spent the last $111 in our bank account.
Right. And that was when I said to you, well, this better work. You better do it all the way. And you did. You took that course like it was your full time. It was, she put her energy into that course like it was breath. And it was awesome. But I was like, if we're going to go back to completely broke over this thing, you better give everything you got to it. So
that's
I watched,
the thing, right?
And I was skeptical. I watched and I was skeptical, and I got all my feelings hurt and oh, you're paying too much attention to your business and your dream. And now I'm feeling neglected and I'm not getting enough attention and all my little bullshit, whiny. There was one point, I won't go too deep into it, but I was a little baby more than once, and through temper tantrums,
you're a little bitch.
I was a little bitch. I was like, I caught myself just going, look, you're just a little bitch, and I couldn't do anything about it. I felt like, I'm not. I even started thinking, I'm not sexy anymore. It's never going to be okay. I'm just a bitch, So if you're asking me, do I have advice for other men that are going through this, that are like, my wife's going to do this and whatever, and I feel like a little bitch, and she's taking the reins, and I don't want to trust her doing this, and I'm, whatever that other feeling was like. I don't know. Basically, she's this rising star, and I haven't done shit with my dream, so I project my anger onto her or whatever. And I was in the crab bucket mentality, but I didn't quite. I let you do your thing, but it didn't sit well with me.
You wasn't happy about it. But listen, I think the thing that I've heard you say before that I think is really impactful is you basically told me, all right, if you're doing this, you better make it work.
Yeah.
And I've heard you say before, it's like, if you're going to put the blinders on, you better produce results.
Right. Definitely.
So
definitely.
you have to fully energetically back yourself, and you have to produce results. You have to show up. You have to do the work. And I did work that fucking course. It was Amanda Francis, Money Mentality Makeover. I worked that course like it was my fucking job. And I didn't have one at the time because our company had just collapsed. So I literally worked it all day long like it was my fucking job. And when I was in the car, I was listening to it. When I was cooking dinner, I was listening to it. I was listening to it on replay. And I was determined, and I fully energetically backed my decision to do that.
So if you were going to do something like this and you wanted to explain what you're going to do to your husband, then say that. On the other hand, right? On the other hand, there's this other side to it. Don't treat, no matter whether your husband feels like he's a little bitch, don't treat him like he's a little bitch. Treat him like he can handle it. Do not put him in the victim hole. And if he wants to put his own ass in the victim hole, let him dig his fucking way out. You know, let him deal with the pain and the anger and the shame and the guilt and figure his own way out. And that was the other piece that why this worked is no matter what. When I'd be a little bitch, Leah wouldn't be like, you're being a little bitch. But she'd be like, and go about her business. And no matter how hard I'd try to be like, well, why don't you do this and you change this and she'd just look at me like, just that. Just let me be. Let me sit in it. Let me sit in my own shit until I figured it out. And I had to I sought out men's circles and counselors and went to the woods and cried and buried myself in the Mother Earth and begged her to take my pain away and, you know, everything. I mean, rituals in nature, whatever it took. And somewhere in there, I found this concept of like my animus, you know, this part of me, you know, that as a man, there's this, you know, part of me that wants this, you know, if I drew up my perfect woman, right? It's this super nurturing slut, right? And no woman could ever live up to my dream of this nurturing slut. She'll cuddle me and all this and just nasty, you know, all this. And Leah's not going to do that, you know. So I had to find her, that woman. I had to find that nurturing slut inside myself. You know, I did.
It's always a wild card. I never know what I'm going to get when I bring him on here. There's like all these first timers that are like, what
the hell is going on with this dude?
Who are these people?
Yeah. But the thing is, by her just letting me sit in my shit, I found that inside of me and was able to have a love affair inside and come together with my ultimate feminine, who obviously is this nurturing slut. And
find the nurturing slut within.
Yeah, find the nurturing slut within. If that floats your boat, you know, some people probably don't want that. Some people might like whips and chains and shit. I don't know, you know. And then I have the other side, the masculine side or whatever, that I always sort of was in touch with that. But then they came together, and once I was whole, then no matter what Leah does, it doesn't affect me. I can take care of myself. And then actually, as soon as I'm taking care of myself, I'm back attractive to her and you know, I'm back in the game and back on the team. Let's go. You know,
my husband needs to find his nurturing slut because I'm a Leah.
Perfect.
Oh my God.
Perfect. Well, only he can find what it is.
So another aha moment right here. So stay in my lane. If the other wants to be a little bitch, let them be it.
Yeah,
if they have to dig themselves out of their own shit, Holly fucking Leah.
That's that healthy boundaries, you know, that it is that healthy boundaries. And that's what Leah did. She held a healthy boundary, but she didn't allow if you've read, you know, Don Quixote, right? To dream the impossible dream, right? Don Quixote would look at the bartender and said he's the king. He looked at the hooker and said she's the queen, you know, this type of thing. Leah always looked at me and only allowed herself to see me as the man she fell in love with, as the best version of myself. And anytime I wanted to pretend that I was some other version, she just wasn't having it. But she certainly wasn't going to come down to my level and boo-boo me through the thing, because she only saw me as, as this one way, which is the greatest version of myself. And by her standing and holding me only as that, refusing to be to play the victim, or not to, refusing to entertain the victim. She just didn't entertain the victim. She'd just be like, there you are, being the victim. Cool. How's that working for you? That type of thing. And, but never was like, you're being a little bitch. She didn't put me down. She just wasn't having it. She wasn't available to that little bitch.
Awesome. So some definite gems of wisdom there. I think for me, what I hear in that is a reflection of certainty. And I am certain, I am certain in the person that I married. I am certain in the work that I do. I am certain in my purpose work. And for me, this is why you're on this webinar. You came to this webinar because you felt my certainty. You felt my certainty in the work that I deliver in the world. You felt my certainty in who I am. And I am certain that every single person on this planet needs to deconstruct their financial slavery consciousness. I am certain that the future of humanity depends upon us taking a really long, hard look at our programming and our conditioning and beginning to see through fucking matrix. I am certain about that. And I am certain that I am the person that has the ability to do that. And so I think that was a great display of that. So thank you to Sean. You guys, some of you got more than you bargained for, I think, coming to the webinar.
Found out about my animus.
There you go. So thank you. So we are actually going to take a brief break, and we're going to be back with Michelle, who's here and ready to jump on. And we'll talk about some business expansion and some personal expansion and all the things.
Thanks so much for listening to the special edition episode of the podcast, and make sure to tune in next week for part 2. And remember, as always, it is your divine birthright to be wealthy in all areas of your life, and you are so worthy and you are so deserving. That's a wrap. Thank you for joining me. Remember, wealth is a mindset, and you absolutely deserve to live the life you deeply desire. And with belief and intention, you create your reality. Until next time, this is Leah Steele, the Wealth Witch.